Welcome to Fresh Take, where we speak to food systems experts about topics related to organic and sustainable agriculture, healthy lifestyles, and the environment. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to our latest episode of Fresh Take. Today, we're very lucky to be talking to Orsi Deszi. She is the Executive Director of the Organic Materials Review Institute that many of our organic farmers and even people who are hobbyists and like to garden know. OMRI is a organization that we're very lucky to have because it does provide that service where we know and can be confident that we are using allowed inputs to grow our crops and some of our other organic products. So thank you so much for joining us today, Orsi.
Thank you so much, and great job on the name.
Thank you. I've been practicing. Thank you so much today for being with us. So I think we wanted to begin maybe by talking a little bit about you, because you are the executive director, and I understand that you have recently been part of, in that position. But talk a little bit about the history of OMRI and some of the other great things that OMRI does for organic farmers and once again, people who are interested in growing organic crops and other products.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, JC, I just joined OMRI at the end of June of 2022. And so I'm new to OMRI as an organization, but not new to OMRI as a consumer. So you talk about those gardeners. That's me recognizing, the OMRI seal on the various fertilizers and things that I use. So I'm certainly very aware of OMRI, but some might not know that OMRI is a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Yes.
Which is really important to me. We're mission driven, and that is at the heart of what we do. And so, we support the growth and the trust of the global organic community. And we really do this through this independent, transparent, expert verification of input materials. And then we do quite a bit of education and technical assistance. So clearly, we have input manufacturers that have their products listed with OMRI, but then we provide so much support for certifiers that are looking at products, different educational opportunities through our websites and training sessions that we hold. So we really encompass a big spectrum of the different things that we do. We also provide quite a bit of support to the NOSB by writing technical papers. So it's been really interesting to see all those things come about.
And I can speak for many certifiers because having done some of that work as a reviewer, just the confidence that if a grower is going to use an OMRI product and those certifiers once again see that it is an OMRI approved product, that there's nothing really more to ask in terms of, oh, well, is it approved? Do we need to do a review? Because that's, at the end of the day, we just want to have that peace of mind that if we want to remain, and have trust in that organic seal, those, organic fruits and vegetables and some products, we need to have an organization like OMRI that is not only reviewing the inputs that are being used to grow, those products, but also, as you said, which is really great, that there's also that educational component that's being done as a, 501c3, providing a lot of support to the community beyond just the review of those products. So that is great, and we're really happy once again to have you today. But also, as I said, lucky that there is an organization like OMRI, and I believe that, of course, those of us that know a little bit about the history of how the National Organic Standards came about and with the Organic Foods Production Act in 1990, and certifiers now having to follow everyone in the country, those organic regulations. In the early days, they were the ones who had to review every input, everything that the farmers were using to grow their crops. It was important, and it was recognized that there needed to be, if I'm not mistaken, that third-party verification of these inputs. And my understanding is that your staff, for example, you guys have, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that, you have all that highly qualified staff and perhaps, a good number of people, not just working on the review of these inputs, but doing a lot more other things that are, I hope that our listeners, now realize is very important.
Absolutely. So just to touch a little bit, like you said, I often say that OMRI is the love child of different certifiers.
Mm-hmm.
We came out of OMRI was founded in 1997 exactly to do what you described, to put an easy button in place for certifiers when they're looking at these inputs and making sure that all of the boxes have been checked. And so it's with that investment from groups like CCOF or Oregon Tilth, OTA, that OMRI was founded, in other groups. So we began that in 97, and I think there was like 5 people initially. There's this image in my head of, loading up some files in a truck and driving that over to Eugene, Oregon to get this started. And so OMRI, in its youth, developed different councils. We have an advisory council. We have an external review panel. So where we bring in knowledge from outside of just OMRI, so industry knowledge to help with some of the tougher decisions. But as you alluded to, OMRI has become a pretty big organization, especially in the last 5 years. We've seen tremendous growth in the organic industry, and we're seeing that really also happening with OMRI. So we have a technical department, and we have our OMRI review program. And then, of course, all the people that go into supporting that. But our review program does exactly these things that we're talking about: the input verification, looking at the fertilizers, the livestock healthcare, all of these different things that farmers want to use. And so the review program is the one that is looking at those products, verifying those products, and then utilizing various panels when necessary and we need help. Our technical department is really our department that does the technical reports for the NOP. It's where we do a lot of our education and outreach. It's where we do the certifier support all through that technical department. So our technical department is one of 8, and our OMRI review program, which we call the ORP, is now close to 60 people. So we've seen, like I said, really significant growth. And we've done quite a few things over the years. So in 2008, OMRI became ISO 65 accredited. So something that's really important to note here is certifiers get accredited by the NOP for that organic certification. OMRI is what's called a material review organization, or an MRO, and there is no accreditation for us from the NOP. It's not something that exists. It's something that we're really hoping to get into the next Farm Bill. So OMRI decided to go that extra mile to go get the ISO 65 accreditation.
Right.
And then, we've been working with the NOP to provide those technical reports to the NOSB. And then in 2013, I don't know if a lot of people know this, we do also inputs for the Canadian organic program. We also have the Mexico review program that we launched in 2020 for the Mexican organic program. So there's quite a bit of activity that's been going on, fueling our growth and fueling the talent that we've been bringing in, which is really exciting to see.
And with that, I actually did want to ask you, or maybe talk a little bit about your staff. And now hearing you say that with the work that you're doing in Canada and in Mexico, you have a pretty diverse set of people from, I'm assuming not all of them in Oregon, but perhaps around the country. And if you're working in Mexico, I'm assuming maybe many of them Spanish speakers, perhaps, but maybe even just a lot of different, talents and people just communicating with farmers and the public and the companies, which is another thing that we hope today's, conversation, everybody listening, that there might be, things that you didn't know about OMRI that may be things that you can really benefit from all the great work that they're doing.
Yeah, that OMRI seal that we have, it's underpinned by such tremendous talent at OMRI. Almost everyone at OMRI, has a science background of some sort. We have people that have done sustainable agriculture. We have folks in our finance team that come from organic farming. So it's just really interesting how ingrained everybody really is in the mission of what we do and in the support of the organic community. Having had the growth that we've seen, not just for the Mexico Review Program, which we call the LPO, but just the sheer amount of growth that we've seen from Mexican input suppliers that are looking to get their products verified to the NOP standards. We have had to have a pretty big push over the last few years to hire bilingual staff that are not only just communicate in Spanish, but also communicate the technical language in Spanish. So that has been such a huge, I think, asset to OMRI. And one of the first things I noticed when I came in that I was really impressed with. So we have a great bilingual staff, again, super, super smart, that can communicate those technical requirements. And so we're able to not just help clients that are looking to verify products against the LPO or the Mexico standards, but also just clients in Mexico or even around the US that prefer to have a Spanish speaker that we can absolutely support and help. So that's been a really big benefit for us.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that is so important, as you say, and I couldn't agree more. Having that technical staff that, whether it be Spanish or English, but also has the ability to communicate, especially, with the people that they're providing that service to, in the technical jargon language that is needed often is so important. And that is where having qualified, trained, very smart folks is extremely important. I know that as somebody who perhaps was trying to get a product out there in the market would need to be able to communicate with somebody who understands, what it is that we're trying to either sell or market or provide organic farmers, organic gardeners with. So let's talk a little bit about some of those products. In fact, for everybody who's listening and those that have already used the OMRI website, people again who maybe just starting as a farmer, or you're interested in having an organic garden in your backyard or somewhere, you can go to the OMRI website and you can find or search. If you heard of a particular product, you can search for products, inputs, materials that are allowed. So maybe we can talk a little bit first about the OMRI website and some of the great products and services, once again, that OMRI is sort of assisting with.
Yeah, that OMRI website is a great, it's a gold mine of information.
It is, yeah.
I definitely, the number one thing on that OMRI website is the OMRI products list. So these are all of the products that are listed by OMRI and have been verified. So it's super easy to search. You can break it down to which regulation you want to see it to. So we do tackle several different areas. We have fertilizers, soil amendments, pest control, livestock feed additives and supplements, processing ingredients and aids. By far, our most popular category is definitely what we do for crops, those fertilizers. But again, that website not only provides a list that you can search by company, by brand name, by regulation, we also have such giant knowledge library of different resources. So again, that portion of this technical outreach, the education that we want to do, it's not just here's a list of products. We're also providing some of the resources and papers to help support what goes into some of this decision making. Some may not know there we have what's called the generic material list, and then we have the OMRI product list. So the OMRI product list is just those brand names that you see that are listed. And what the generic materials list does is bring together the various NOP requirements for different, again, generic materials, and then puts them in one place for everybody to access. So that tends to be a really big help, again, to those certifiers or folks that are out there verifying that final organic food when they're looking at production.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that is very important to make that distinction because as I was saying, certifiers want to be reminded or want to make sure that if it's not a brand name, but a generic material or name, they can go to the OMRI, website and almost instantly do a very quick search and know if something's allowed and or if it's something is prohibited, basically. And so that's such a great resource.
And let me just, Jason, let me just go the extra mile that the searchable content is available in English and Spanish. So
Yeah.
again, really just trying to support all approaches and all ways to search our content in our website.
Yes, exactly. And because I have, used the OMRI website many, many, many times. And if it was perhaps a farmer who was in the States and somebody who was growing or producing a product for both the US market and the Canadian market, let's use that as an example, then uh, OMRI, and they were using a particular material to grow or produce that organic product. OMRI, the OMRI website tells you and confirms that that material is allowed both under the USDA National Organic Program and the Organic Canadian regime, for example. So
Exactly.
again, that is such a great resource. And for farmers who I'm sure many of them and most of them probably already know this, but that there is that also added peace of mind that yes, it's allowed for you to use it if you're growing a crop for the US market. But if you are interested and have opportunities to enter the Canadian market, for example, that you can also verify that as well.
Exactly.
So many different people can use, as you mentioned, the website and OMRI products. You mentioned certifiers, of course, farmers, growers, producers, because we're often talking about farmers, but let's not forget about the manufacturers of many, many, many wonderful organic foods that we eat all the time, things like yogurt, cereal, many, many other things. That's another thing that OMRI reviews, the inputs or the ingredients, I should say, that go into those products. And one that I find a little bit sometimes interesting or reminded that, the input suppliers can also use the OMRI, products or the OMRI list, correct?
Absolutely. So input suppliers will use that generic materials list.
Yeah.
So first of all, that's just a really great tool as products are being formulated.
Mhm.
And then when you look at the OMRI products list, it's not unusual that you might have a product listed that could act as a product on its own, but might even be an ingredient in a larger product. So
Right.
maybe if you're developing or formulating something new, you're utilizing the OMRI products list to see if there's something that might be out there that's already verified that you could use in your product that you might then submit for an OMRI approval as well. So the other thing that's really great for input manufacturers is because we support a certifier subscriber base, we often email out products that have been added, products that have been removed. And so we're really trying to maintain the integrity of that list that we put out. So there's ongoing compliance monitoring of that list. We want to make sure that the information that we have out there is the most up to date. You talked a little bit about the beginning about the fraudulent labels and the integrity of the mark. So we want to do our part in that. And so we're really trying to, with all the processes we have in place to do that as we put lists out there and we support those input supplier community for sure.
Right. And of course, consumers being the other audience that can use the website, but of course, in those cases where we're talking about people who garden and love gardening, that there is also that assurance that they can purchase that particular, whether it be a fertilizer or media, soil, some of the other great products that have that OMRI seal on it, and know that they're doing it organically, which is what we're all, regularly preaching to everyone. And so this is great. But some of the information, I guess maybe I wanted to ask you, and the use of the website, it is free for most people to search. But is there some things that may require a subscription or maybe a fee?
That's a great point. So we definitely have some baseline information that is free. So all of the OMRI products lists, all the lists are free for access. There are some more content for OMRI subscribers that are much more in line with those educational materials that we were speaking of. So a lot of educational materials are free on the website, but if you're a subscriber, you get deeper insight to that. As a subscriber, if you had questions, technical questions, you then have access to our technical department for those questions to ask as well. And then whenever we prohibit any products or products get dropped from listing, we send out notification of that as well. So there's just a couple of extra perks if you do come on board for that subscription.
Mm-hmm. Well, we thank you so much for talking to us today, Orsi. This has been, for me especially, just really, really something that I enjoy talking about inputs. I hope people are not surprised by that. But that to me, the great resource that OMRI is to certifiers, reviewers, people who, like us that are educating the general public is very, very important. And we appreciate all the great work that you do. Are there any other resources for our listeners that maybe they should be aware of, or anything that you would like to share with us today?
As you were just chatting a little bit about, the gardeners, people that might know OMRI, I do remember, I just wanted to comment on that because I think it's so powerful. When I was first starting at OMRI, I'm part of a community of master gardeners here that have helped me with a couple of various things. And they were so excited and geeked out about the fact that I was going to OMRI. And so it was so powerful for me to see that knowledge of OMRI in the consumer space as well. And so that was really exciting, but they, just from consumers hearing how much they love the OMRI listed products, and that is really the easy button for them. But, when thinking about resources, we do have our OMRI products list. Like I said, we spoke about that being online quite a bit. It's actually something that we have printed copies of. We know that not every farm comes with Wi-Fi at every corner.
Yes.
And so that is just something you can order from OMRI. There's a fee for that. We do print them. And this is the year actually that we were making the decision on whether we should print 1 or 2 books, because that's how many products we now have in that list. So I want to put that out there as well, that's available. And then again, we touched upon the monitoring, the continuous monitoring of OMRI products. So I just want to push that one more time to say that list is not stagnant. We're always updating it. We're always refreshing it. And we're always making sure that people are in compliance with it. We do have a couple of events that we do. So typically, we just came from the Organic Grower Summit. We'll be at NOSB and Organic Week. I know that I'll be in Guelph at the end of January. Yep, in Guelph, Ontario for the organic conference there. So we are we're coming out of the woodworks everywhere. We try to really because we are not just in Eugene, we have employees everywhere now. We're really trying to reach out to those communities and go to the events within the community to make our reach a lot greater. So those can all, like I said, just be found on our website. Definitely a really great nugget of information. And for me, just personally, I love to think about all the exciting things that are coming up within the organic industry and how we might be a big part of that. The USDA with announcing their transition to organic partnership program. I mean, inputs play a huge role in that. And so I'm just really excited about the additional growth we're going to be seeing here with some of the funding that's really going in to support organic farmers.
No, absolutely. And as I said, I can attest to the value that OMRI brings to the organic industry. So we're really grateful for all the great work that you all do. Once again, Orsi, we appreciate you, talking to us today. And we were just mentioning, once again, the website. So I remind people that website is www.omri.org. And thank you again so much for talking to us today.
Thanks so much, JC. I had a really great time and appreciate the opportunity to talk about OMRI as much as I can.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And to everyone listening to us, we appreciate you always tuning in to listen to our podcast. We invite you to stay tuned and listen to the next podcast. We'll see you then.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. FOG is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so to keep our content available and free to the public, we need your help. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen, and consider making a tax-deductible donation. Learn more about our work on our website, www.foginfo.org.